Daisy.
And I'm Terry.
And this is the Monday Mindset Podcast,
where we share things of interest to us and hopefully to you.
So let's get started with episode number 260.
And this week, it's Daisy's turn. Daisy, what do you have for us?
I was about to say, well, Daisy again. Well, Terry.
Oh.
You'd think it's easy enough, isn't it? I am still not back with the Huberman episode. I got sidetracked again by an episode of the Dr Tyna Show. I don't know if you've watched any of those. Dr Tyna Moore, she has been my go-to with learning about GLP-1s, but all sorts of other things. She's a very big proponent of, you've guessed it, strength training. And yes, we are kind of coming back to strength training yet again. And I am that one step closer. The Couch to 5K has helped because it's gotten me moving. But hearing the right person at the right time tell you something in the right way makes such a big difference. And this episode caught my attention, The Proven Way to Build Muscle and Master Your Metabolism. And it's with a guy called Sal Di Stefano, who I hadn't heard of. Apparently, there might be people out there who know him. Apparently, he's also known as Mind Pump Studios. I think he started off as a personal trainer. Well, actually, I'll tell you, he was always very interested in fitness and working out, and started at about the age of 14. But straight out of school, at the age of 18, he went to be a personal trainer at a gym, and he was fitness manager by 19, and running gyms at 21. He left and started his own gym, which he ran for a while. Then he went back, but he became very upset basically by the big gym model. He noticed that, hold on a minute, there are lots of people who have a gym membership. There are all these people buying a gym membership, but they're not showing up. If everyone who had a membership showed up, we wouldn't be able to service them. We wouldn't have enough space, wouldn't have enough staff. And he soon learned that this was a big part of their business model. They priced low and they oversold, and they weren't really helping the people that really needed the help. And he, by all accounts, seems like a really decent guy, and he didn't like this. So he left again for good this time, and he set up this time more of a wellness studio. And he pulled in people offering a range of multiple services in the context of health and wellness. So he was still a personal trainer, but he absorbed all this learning from the other people that were working with him, and he saw great value in integrating different modalities. So he had people offering different kinds of massage, meditation, all sorts of things coming in. It wasn't just a gym. And he then went on to create online products, which is what he's doing now, and started a podcast. Apparently he's been doing that for about 10 years. And he partnered with this other guy called Adam, who had the same values as him and the same ideas about the fitness industry. They both think that a lot of damage has been done and is continuing to be done in the fitness industry. And he talks about, markets are good when there's lots of competition and we see progress. But the problem that they see is we get too much of what we want, but not what we need in the fitness industry. And they're selling too much of aesthetics and doing things quickly. And this really upsets him because he knows basically that it doesn't work. But he believes very strongly that the answers are there. They're just being sold in the wrong way. But that's what sells, right? Lose X amount of pounds in X amount of days. We want things quickly. We want things, and we want the aesthetic that we want, and we want it tomorrow.
And effortlessly.
And effortlessly, yeah. If you can offer that package, we're going to buy it, whether it works or not. And this is what upsets him because he knows it doesn't work, but people are still selling it and people are still buying it. And he wants to sell something that works. He wants people to help themselves. And he says that most coaches and trainers actually are driven by passion and wanting to help people more than the money. He says, that the problem isn't weight loss. You know this. It's more about keeping it off. That's the difficult. So many people can lose weight. Losing weight is actually quite easy. And I know that sounds a bit crazy, but it's not if you really think about it. But a lot of us get into this yo-yo dieting and we end up quitting. This is what he wants to change, and he wants to counter this crappy messaging. Like he said, he thinks the answers really are there, but the problem is that fundamental changes in behavior takes time. And that's what he's selling. Somebody will be selling a package, lose X amount and get your beach body in a month. And he's going to be saying, yeah, you can do that. But if you do it with me, it's going to take you a year. But you're much more likely to then maintain that. And that's what's the most important thing. Talking of important things, he says, what is the most important thing in the context of quality of life? He said, when you really look at writing this down as a list, he said appearance doesn't often really even actually make it into the top 10. So when he's working with people, he's all about consistency and he's all about pointing out all the other benefits. So he said I don't think he works so much as a personal trainer directly with clients anymore, but he said when he did, it was all about their focus, and he usually had to point it out. So he would have somebody come in and say, oh, hey, how are you doing? And he would ask them the kind of leading questions that would lead to answers like, yeah, my sleep's better, and that niggling pain I had in my knee's gone away, and all these other things that were the real sort of life-changing, small and big changes. And he actually would avoid putting people on the scales, and Tina Moore agreed. She said, I never used to weigh people either, because he said what would happen is they'd list off all these benefits, they'd come in, they'd be feeling really good about themselves, they'd be really upbeat, they'd be really excited about the strength that they were building, all the rest of it, all the benefits that were happening. And if they were to get on the scale and find out that they'd only lost X amount, or heaven forfend, they'd put on a pound or something, mood destroyed, and everything else, you could wipe out everything else that came before that was actually much, much more important. So yeah, this is what he's railing against. They're all about, most of the big gyms are selling appearance and what you see on the scale, and they're missing the bigger picture. And he really wants to take what is a dysfunctional relationship into a really good relationship. He says you have to develop a good, healthy relationship with your body, with exercise, with diet, with this new lifestyle that you enjoy and you want to do, and that it improves your quality of life regardless of context. He says, I never have to nag someone to do something they enjoy doing. I never have to push someone to do something they want to do. And yeah, of course, sometimes you're going to have those days where you don't feel like doing the exercise that's on your schedule or whatever. But if you've been doing it for long enough, and if you've found ways of enjoying it, even if that enjoyment isn't super high in the moment, but you feel pumped when you leave, or you're really starting to see and focus on the real benefits that you're getting, that's when, you really get this momentum. And of course, he's taking time with all these things, and he's saying this takes time to develop. You're not going to build that relationship in a month. You need time. And to go back to strength training, they talk a little bit about how women have been lied to about strength training. And they both agree that it's the best thing you can do for longevity, hormonal health, mobility, aesthetics. Why? Well, apart from anything else, he says that the time investment, the balance, the time investment for returns is the smallest with strength training than it is for any other form of exercise. And it elicits adaptations that are very protective and sticky. And what he means by sticky is the work required to build muscle there's less work required than to keeping it. And he talks about muscle memory. He says when you're building muscle, you need the consistency and the work. If you lose it and then you want to build it back, you have muscle memory. Building it back is easier. Your body is primed to rebuild it a whole lot easier. Strength training has such a positive impact on your metabolic rate. If you want to speed up your metabolism, it's the most effective way to do it. Because this is why because I'm always like, why? Give me a good reason. It's more active tissue that is expensive to maintain, and it has a larger storage capacity. And, they talk about things like glucose sinks. So this is why they often talk about, and I know there'll be, potentially an argument, what's the fastest way to insulin sensitivity? But they, of course, will say that strength training, resistance training is. And one of the reasons is that you're building this storage capacity, you're building these glucose sinks. If you're building more storage space, that's a surefire way to up your insulin sensitivity, which is, of course, is what we want. Tina Moore, and she always gets really excited when she's talking about strength training, but she says this is the one organ system, muscles, this is, of our body that really can be manipulated and where we can build reservoirs of resilience. And she talks about resilience in all sorts of ways, metabolic resilience, but, she's talked about examples of people, if you have a fall, if you have an accident of some kind. A friend of hers who had a serious car accident, she says, and the surgeon said, the big reason he survived is because he was really fit and had a lot of muscle. It's very, very protective for all sorts of things for your health. And resistance training, we've talked about this before, to be effective doesn't actually take much to start. You can do it just with body weight type exercises like squats, and they talk about how those sort of lower body is a really good place. She always says that women often complain to her when they're going through menopause that they're losing their arse or ass, as you Americans say. And she's saying, yeah, that's actually a sign of heading towards insulin resistance and problems. It's just, you need those big muscles down there. They're really important. And they talk about sending the right signals to your body and for it to respond. And they talk about the difference between training your body to build endurance and stamina versus strength. Your body will adapt specifically to the signal you send. So, as a completely different example, if you go out in the sun, your skin will darken as an adaptation to going out in the sun. There are different things that your body does, but you have to send it the right signals in the first place. So if I can't remember what they call them, cardio bunnies, I think. She says she's sick of seeing, too many women pounding away on the treadmill, quite often really miserable doing it. But what you're asking your body to do, the signal that you're sending, is to build endurance and stamina and to slow your metabolism, become more efficient at burning calories in that way. And you want to do the opposite. You want to speed up your metabolism. He said, think about the physique of a sprinter versus a marathon runner. The sprinter is much more muscly. It's all about strength. And they go into some of the science about your training ATP pathways. They talk about how rest is important. It's a really interesting episode if you like me, need to keep chalking up really good reasons why you need to start doing this. Or potentially why you need to start doing it better. So they talk about, I can't remember the trainer who's on YouTube a lot. I can't remember the name of her, but she said, yeah, she's, farting around with these movements, with these namby-pamby 2-pound weights. She said, you need to lift heavy and you need to rest in between. And this is all about building these ATP pathways. And it was just really, really interesting. And, all these reasons why it's so important to build your strength. And it is about building strength more than, yes, muscle mass sort of comes along with it, but they're really coming down heavy on it's your strength that's important. And building your strength has more of a percentage impact on all the other things like endurance, stamina, mobility than changing one of those other three will have on the other three, if you see what I mean. So improving your endurance won't really impact your strength, but improving your strength will improve your endurance without specifically doing endurance training. So yeah, it was really interesting, and he was a really nice guy. She is really nice. Just very much start from where you are. They're not judgmental. They're not preachy. They just give you solid, interesting, caring reasons, very much in the same approach as Dr. von der Wright. Very caring, nurturing. We want you to live longer and we want you to live stronger. She doesn't like the kind of people I don't like, the very sort of bro science. She rails against these sorts of types. They really seem to come from a genuinely caring, we want you to live longer, stronger, healthier lives.
Yeah. I first started following her during COVID, and I know that she has a lot of different views on health than kind of mainstream, and sometimes can be, people tend to sometimes look at people like that a little questionably, but I love hearing you talk about her now because I haven't followed her as much recently. And I like that you're really focusing on, I think she has really good intent. I think she came on really strong during COVID, and some people may have been turned off, but this idea of,
I didn't know her then. She kind of refers back to getting slammed during that time. She now says that her message that she got railed against, which I suspect there was more to it than that, was that she was really encouraging people to focus on eating, getting outside, sunshine,
lifting
strength
weights,
training,
yes.
Exercise, which all sems like quite a good thing to be suggesting to me. But
oh, no. We should have been focusing on sourdough pancakes. But I love hearing you talk about these people that, for me, can really kind of reframe the workout mentality, the lifting heavy things mentality, that it's not just about personal bests and, these things, but it's really about building a strong body, because a strong body serves us so well in so many ways. And as well as I know about you, that this has been an area of challenge for us. And I go through fits and spurts where I do a little more resistance training, a little more lifting, and then I drop off for some reason. And I feel like I'm in that contemplation stage again. Like, I know I want to do this. I want to create this for my body. And I haven't yet committed to how I'm going to do it. So I really like that you're talking about this, Daisy, from a perspective of a little bit also the kind of longer haul of it. And maybe that's partly why I have fallen off of it before. Is it's not the get results quick thing. It's the create a pattern that you will do long term. And, that fits in so much with my work at TFM, about our weight loss or about our health, is we can't fix it in 6 months and expect it's done. I've made the analogy of like teeth. No one brushes their teeth for 18 months and then stops and then is surprised that they don't have good oral health. So, it's another kind of kick in the pants for me of, Terry, if you really want this stronger body, you have to start building it now, and you're going to continue building it. You're not going to reach some point of success and stop. You really have to be building it. And I just like the messaging that you shared of his around this, that the kind of get fit, get built, get buff quickly, focusing on appearance isn't really going to get you to that longer term benefit. Actually, probably not much benefit out of that except for the appearance, and it won't work. But really, for me to kind of reframe this as, if I want a strong body, I've got to work on it every day.
Yeah.
Make that part of my lifestyle. And you've heard me quote this. Everyone has probably heard me quote this before, but, Simon Sinek says that doing something that's challenging, that you don't have a purpose for doing, I can't remember the exact words of it, that's just called stress. But doing something that you care about and that's challenging for you, that is purpose. That is motivation. That, like you said, the guy in this interview talked about when you make it something that you value, you don't dread doing it because it just becomes so much a part of your every fiber. It's a part of how you value yourself. So doing that lifting becomes just natural for you.
Yeah, and I think we both too easily criticize ourselves for being in that contemplative state about it. And yes, there is a limit where it totally becomes procrastination. But it is partly about, I think, especially if you've tried things before and not enjoyed them, it is about, especially if you do fall into that research tendency a bit that I do, but it's finding something that you know is going to stick, finding a way that you are going to enjoy it. Like, I've been meaning to restart the Couch to 5K since I stopped doing it, however many years ago it was. Well, the way I found that to work was waiting till I'd lost a bit of weight, so felt more like doing it, had more energy, waiting till the weather was nicer, waiting till the fields were dry, although I didn't realise that at the time, it just suddenly dawned on me, combining it with a dog walk, doing it in a nice environment, stacking things up in my favour so that I would actually come close to enjoying it. I can't say it's completely fun, but actually it's not far off. I do quite enjoy it. And I certainly feel I love the feeling of feeling fitter. And I don't actually dislike doing it. If I did, I wouldn't keep doing it. So it's finding ways that are going to make it stick.
And I think that's that balance that really most of us should strive toward. It doesn't have to be fun. You don't have to say, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to do my whatever it is, versus I'm going to do this. It's not horrible to do, and I'm going to do it because I value so much what I get from doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's that, kind of need to get over that hump for most of us as we get started with something like this, so that it becomes more of a payoff than it is a barrier.
And that's where I knew I made it so easy for myself, because I had to go on that dog walk anyway. I was already going there. So the only difference was that I wore different clothes. So, hey, once I was already in my running gear and I got there, even though I didn't feel like doing it, well, I might as well do it because you're here. You got your headphones, you got your music, you got your running shoes on. So you might just as well do it. And then you feel great. So it's setting things up to make it as easy as you can for yourself until you just start building enough momentum that you're getting enough benefit from it. Yeah, that it just rolls on. But it takes time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I really, if you have any interest in this at all, if you need any persuasion, go and listen to these guys because, it's catching. Their enthusiasm and their caring is catching. And actually they're both very pleasing on the eye. Dr. Tyna Moore, I think she's just stunning.
Agreed.
He's pretty nice too. So there's something for everybody there.
There we go. Well, thanks for kind of re-inspiring my drive for this, helping maybe boost me out of that contemplative stage and move into the action stage. And I'm definitely going to check this out. You also already inspired me today to go check on a few other people that I've been kind of, interested in their content around this stuff too. So thanks for that, Daisy.
I'd be interested in hearing about those. Okay, well, until I see you next time, I hope you and everyone at home has a very wonderful week.
Take good care, everyone.